Good afternoon. Thank you for making time to join us on Citizen Live at 1. I am Ann Kiguta. We begin with breaking news from the corridors of justice. Nadif Jama has lost his Garissa gubernatorial seat through an election petition. The Court of Appeal sitting in Nairobi has nullified Jama's election, citing numerous irregularities. Judges David Maraga, John Mwera and Philomena Mwilu have in their verdict faulted the High Court for not allowing a scrutiny of votes as sought by the two petitioners. Francis Gashuri has the details.
Nadif Jama is the latest governor to lose his seat through an election petition. The appellate court sitting in Nairobi sent Jama packing after being convinced by two Garissa County voters, Abdi Karim Osman Mohammed and Zahan Nunu Abdi, that his election was not valid. Court of Appeal judges David Maraga, John Mwera and Philomena Mwilu ruled that the petitioner's prayer for scrutiny of the Garissa gubernatorial election votes should have been granted to establish if Jama had been validly elected. The High Court had earlier upheld Jama's election, prompting the petitioners to move to the second highest court in the land. Mohammed and Abdi welcomed the appellate chamber's verdict, terming it justice for Garissa County residents.
And we are happy, and I'm happy, and I'm saying to Garissa people, you have a chance to go back and elect a legitimate leader.
Nina furaha kuu kwa sababu leo imeonekana haki imetendeka katika mahakama kuu ya Court of Appeal.
Jama declined to comment on the verdict that has sent him home, and it remains unclear whether he will be moving to the Supreme Court to challenge the Court of Appeal's ruling. Francis Gashuri, Citizen Live at 1.
Suspected Al-Shabaab militants this morning attacked and injured a driver working for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees at Hagadera near the Kenya-Somalia border and used the vehicle stolen from him to escape into Somalia. The driver was heading to a new refugee camp in the area when three gunmen armed with AK-47 rifles ordered him to stop and shot him 3 times before pulling him out of the vehicle. Fafi District Commissioner Jeffrey Tarragon confirmed the incident. The DC said the injured driver was rushed to the International Rescue Committee Hospital in Hagadera. Security personnel have alerted KDF troops in Somalia to track down that vehicle, and we'll stay on top of that story for you. To matters international justice now, and ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda has asked the trial judges to reject Deputy President William Ruto's request for a time extension to appeal against the court's decision to have 8 witnesses compelled to testify against him. Jackie Maribe reports.
They cannot be compelled to do so under the statutory scheme.
Deputy President William Ruto, through his defense team led by Queen Counsel Karim Khan, sought the ICC trial judges leave to extend the time in which he can appeal a court decision to have 8 witnesses in his trial compelled to testify. The 8 witnesses have already withdrawn from the Ruto Sang case, but ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda would request the judges to have them compelled to give their testimony all the same, a request the judges, save for one, consented to. However, it is the argument of Ruto's lawyers that the dissenting opinion of trial judge Herrera Karbucha has not yet been made public, and as such hinders them from being able to lodge an adequate appeal if they should wish to do so. But Bensouda now contends in a fresh submission to the court that the Ruto defense argument lacks merit and should as such be rejected. Jackie Maribe, Citizen Live at 1.
Well, MPs are back in the House in session. Their in-tray is full. Our Kendago Obadia is following proceedings in Parliament and joins us now on phone. Kendago, good afternoon. Bring us up to speed on what day 2 in Parliament has been.
Well, good afternoon to you, Anne. Proceedings, as usual, on Wednesday begins in the morning, and we had the first session being the private members' motions being debated here at the National Assembly. And thereafter, there were some bills that were brought to the floor, some amendments being taken through the VAT bill, which went into Committee of the Whole House. And after that, sailing through the third reading also was the National Procurement Bill brought in by Johnson Sakaja, a bill that seeks to enforce into law the proposal by Jubilee government that 30% of all procurement should go to the youth, and that was being debated and being amended today. And then, of course, this afternoon, we expect the House to resume debate on the division of revenue bill. That is what is expected today as to how the House is going to conduct its business.
Yeah, Kentagor, just elaborate for us the importance of this afternoon's discussion on the Division of Revenue Bill, which we know the Senate is also addressing. And, I mean, to the layman, the concern is, should the Senate go ahead and pass certain amendments that are different from those that may go through with MPs, then what happens next? Which bill will, you know, take preeminence? What are the thoughts of MPs on that matter?
Well, let me draw your attention first of all to what the leader of majority in the Senate, Professor Kithure Kindiki, did last week before the Senate went on a very, very long recess. They are going for over 40 days. And what he did was he tabled the Division of Revenue Bill in the Senate, and that was taken to be the Senate engaging in a parallel exercise to what the National Assembly had done, because initially it had been agreed that the Division of Revenue Bill originates from the National Assembly, and the National Assembly then had to take it through the first reading, the second reading, which commenced yesterday, that's the debate, and thereafter third reading, and after concluding debate on this particular bill, amendments having been effected, then they would send the bill to the Speaker of the Senate as a message. And that is now when the Senate would commence deliberations on the bill. Now, that has brought a lot of issues because the National Assembly is feeling that the Senate is once again moving to engage in an exercise that will look like the two houses are competing on the bill. Remember, in the last year, the National Assembly trashed all the input of the Senate in that Division of Revenue Bill and said that bill was not supposed to go there. And so it was appearing like they are reigniting supremacy battles over the same bill. But having talked to the leader of majority in the Senate to ask why she decided to table this bill before its time, and he said it was a way of trying to reduce the debating time. That is to say, there is 30 days that is supposed to be in between the first reading and the second reading in every bill. And so if they had to wait until they come back from recess, which will be more than a month, it will mean that they will have to take the bill through the first reading and then wait for another 30 days to commence debate on it. And that would consume a lot of time, bearing in mind that this bill is supposed to be concluded because counties are supposed to start working on their budgets early. And so he said he had to table it in the first reading because it's just a similar bill. And then when senators would be on recess, the 30 days will lapse while they're in recess. And so when they come back, there will be no time wasted. They will just commence on the debate in the second reading. That is what the leader of majority in the Senate says. But then there would be differences. Of course, it is anticipated that there will be input from the National Assembly and there will be input from the Senate. So what happens normally is the law states that in the event that the two houses differ, in the event that they agree, then that will have no problem at all. Then the bill will be collapsed into one. But then, if there will be differences in terms of the input of the National Assembly and the input of the Senate, then they will go for mediation. That is now when the two houses are supposed to form a mediation team, agree on the contentious issues, and thereafter pass the bill as one, and that will be taken to the President. That is the process, Anne.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's our Kentagor Obadia reporting for us live outside of Parliament. We thank you for that, and I will be speaking momentarily to Beatrice Elaji. She's the Deputy Chair in the Senate's Devolution Committee, and will be elaborating on that Division of Revenue Bill, plus other matters devolution. Let's move now to southern Sudan, and that country's rebel commander, Riek Machar, has denied that his forces were behind the massacre of hundreds of people in the town of Bentiu. The United Nations accuses Machar's forces of killing more than 200 people in a mosque after expelling government forces from the town last week. Now, Machar says his army cannot kill its own people.
The conflict between rebel and government forces in South Sudan is said to have taken a new dimension, with the United Nations investigators now saying the killing of civilians can best be described as targeted killings based on ethnic origins and nationality. As hundreds of bodies litter the dusty streets of Bentiu, the capital of oil-producing Unity State, United Nations peacekeepers battle to protect some 22,000 civilians at a base in the town. The government is accusing former Vice President Riek Machar's forces of killing civilians, but Machar insists his rebels respect their people and could have not carried out the attacks since the majority of the forces are from the region. As the blame game plays out, Machar says the government forces and their allies committed the heinous crimes while retreating.
The enemy's force shot bullets in the air. That shooting of bullets in the air provoked the situation. And as a result, a fight ensued between the youth, the UNIMIS force, and the rebel and the IDPs on one side and the youth on the other side. And that is what resulted into that unfortunate incident of yesterday.
This attack on a location where civilians are being protected by the United Nations is a serious escalation. The Secretary General reminds all parties that any attack on United Nations peacekeepers is unacceptable and constitutes a war crime.
The government, on the other hand, accused the rebels of hunting down men, women and children a week ago in hospital, church and a mosque in Bentiu, and then killing them, saying Machar should take full responsibility since his forces are in control of the town. The number of civilians seeking refuge at the UN camp in Bentiu has quadrupled since the beginning of this month. Negotiations between the Kiir government and rebels loyal to Machar have failed to advance since the signing of a ceasefire agreement in January. South Sudan's Information Minister Michael Makwei says peace talks brokered by IGAD had been postponed until April 28th to give room for further consultations. Thousands of people in South Sudan have been killed in violence and more than 1 million people have been forced to leave their homes since December after President Salva Kiir troops and those loyal to Riek Machar began to fight following a failed coup.
All right, we want to enter our Live at 1 discussion now, and joining me is British Elijah.